What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, and welcome into another edition of MVP Sports Live right here. You may be watching us live on our YouTube channel, or you may be watching us after the fact. No matter how you are watching us, thank you for giving us a little bit of your morning, your day, your evening, your night, your afternoon, wherever it is where you are right now. I am joined, as I always am, with my beautiful co-host, Jake Neverman. Jake, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. How about you? How about yourself?
I feel weird today, Jake, because
Yeah,
we're talking about something that, it's been
yeah,
so NBA heavy
yep.
that, I didn't know we were allowed to talk about other sports. I did
Nah,
not know that there were any other sports going on and that it was just NBA that was going on.
well, thank God we're not talking about the NBA. It's a little bit of a depressing day. So, yeah, talk about some NFL, and we can harp on some other depressing fan bases, not my own.
Depressing to who, Jake? I don't know who could be depressed on a
I
day like
don't know, man.
today.
I could not figure it out, honestly. I just know somebody might be.
I mean, today the Nets could be moving on today. The Suns can go up 3-2. Blazers Nuggets. Somebody's gonna take a 3-2 lead. I don't know who's gonna do it.
Well, the
today.
Lakers could take a 3-2 lead too. Don't say
It
that.
depends. Does Anthony Davis play?
No,
Does
he's not
Anthony
playing.
Davis play? Does he not? Apparently he's questionable, but people are saying that's doubtful.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not talking about the NBA today. We are finally diving back into the NFL. This is our first NFL show since you and I talked about the schedules. And basically, the hottest topic. That's the video that gets the most views out of the entire NFL season is us talking about games in the middle of June, not even June, the middle of, what was it, May? Did it come out middle of May?
Yeah, it was the middle of May. I think it was like the second or third week of May.
Yeah, talking about those in the middle of May. And we got some great topics. We got pretty much the two topics that we have not hit. We got to talk Julio Jones, because you and I have not talked Julio. And then we got to touch Aaron Rodgers, because we touched it on the night of the draft, but then we found out that Adam Schefter is actually a scumbag and releases news just to fuck with people without any sources. He needs his own sources. It really hurt his credibility with that one. But yeah, I mean, before we get into everything, though, quick housekeeping. If you're not in the MVP Discord, you are behind the eight ball. It is truly the greatest community in all of the universe. But you can join it today for free. You can join it. That link is right down below in the description. All the greatest conversations are going on. Some that are funny, some that are intellectual, some that are just grayed out awesome. We got all the sports in there that we talk about. Am I wrong, Jake? Am I wrong?
I just love that you use the word intellectual and then grayed out awesome in the next
Hey, we had an intellectual conversation about the state of the political standing and how it goes with sports. I would say that's an intellectual conversation. A little bit above
it just was
my
ironic, the
wording. It's just
Fair.
pure awesomeness.
Pure good awesomeness.
Hashtag electric, as some would say.
Brother, it's electric.
But if you also want to support us, you can do it one of two ways, really. Patreon.com/MVPvids, link down below, or you can become a channel member. Either way, you're supporting us. You're getting rewarded for it. It's the same rewards, whether you're a channel member or a patron. So go ahead and check that out if you would like to support us. Thank you to our Patreon/member sponsors, I need to say, because technically we'll have both after a while. Pat Hill, thank you for sponsoring the show. And then also hit that sub button on YouTube and that bell so that you're always keeping tabs with when we're going live, when videos are going up. We're going to be having some kind of prospect breakdowns for the NBA draft that will not be live videos, so you'll want to hit that button so that when they're uploaded, you're getting known about it. Also, mock drafts for the NFL and NBA. You want to keep notificated. I made that word up yesterday, so I'm going to keep using it. You want to get notificated about those. So hit the bell. Yeah, that's the word. That's the real word, but I made up this fake word that I like using more than I can't even say notificated.
Oh my
Notificated. But
Oh
Jake,
my God.
the first thing we are talking about is Julio Jones. And before I put up the card, before I ask you anything, I have to show a tweet. And this tweet I saw on the Pat McAfee show today, it's from Jason Moore, who through his Twitter profile, it says top 10 most accurate analyst 2017, 18, 19, and he's the co-host of an award-winning fantasy football podcast. So you know that this news, these sources that I'm talking about are going to be for real. I just like it because the tweet is funny, and I'm going to show the tweet off. Per sources, it appears Julio is down to these teams: Titans, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders, Seahawks, Cardinals, Ravens, Colts, Niners, Eagles, Rams, Panthers, Bears, Broncos, Packers, Jaguars, Saints, Vikings, Washington. Sorry to all other teams. So
Is that all?
that's all of them. As Pat McAfee said today, that's about a tenth of the league right there. All the other teams were sorry, but there are some sprinklings of some trade rumors with Julio Jones. Where is he going to go? Is he going to be a Patriot? Is he going to be a Packer? There's a serious, like the biggest traction that we've gotten is apparently there have been serious talks between the Seahawks and the Falcons for Julio Jones. Looked like the Falcons were asking for a first rounder at first. Now they've kind of backtracked and said we will take a second rounder for Julio Jones. Jake, when it comes to Julio, where the hell do you think he's going to go? What team has the assets and has the actual willpower to make a deal done?
You know, it's interesting because I know the first thing that was thrown out there whenever Julio was up for trade is that his contract's wild, his money isn't crazy, but I think a lot of teams have proven, including the Saints, who are $90 million over the cap, is that the NFL cap is a fake. I genuinely don't. There's so many different ways around it and ways to create cap that.
Yeah, the Taysom Hill contract.
Yeah, they're paying Taysom Hill $144 million, but big catch every year in that deal is voidable.
Yeah,
so it's
a fake contract, basically.
Literally, yeah. I think the Seahawks is interesting, and the Seahawks seem to always be in on these kind of guys, like they did it with Jimmy Graham. Like they were always kind of in with whenever a guy asks out the Seahawks name usually goes out there because they always are kind of like they're stalking in the water. They're not always going to make the trade, but they're always there. There's a lot of teams that could pull this trade off. I'm not sure if I could narrow it down to one team. I think that there's a lot of teams I'm sure we're going to do it that should be moving for him. I think the Seahawks makes a lot of sense. Russ is kind of that window is closing very fast on Russ and the Seahawks. It might have already closed in some people's minds, and getting Julio might kind of like bridge that window open a little bit. I'm not sure if it fully forces it open or they become the dominant force in the NFC or anything, but Julio on any team would automatically make them at least division winner contenders if they weren't. If they were, then it probably makes them Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at Julio's contract, the thing that I find interesting about it is, so this year, the 2021 season, you got him for basically this is the main juicy year where he's a $40.5 million cap hit for your team. But like then next year he's only a that's dead cap. So he's 23 million, 40.5 million dead cap. Next year he only goes up to 19. But here's the thing: after next year, you could basically get rid of him after 2 years if you're worried about that. And the dead cap after that is basically 7.7, which is what he would be in his contract year anyways. So, I mean, if you are a team out there, a playoff team, you should be looking at Julio Jones. Like any team on that list would be stupid with two O's, not a U, two O's, STOOPID, stupid to not trade for Julio Jones. It's just like the question is, what teams is it in their makeup? Like right away, the Packers on that list don't expect, do not expect the Packers to make a trade for Julio Jones because one, they don't like helping Aaron Rodgers. Now, if Julio was a quarterback, Packers would be all over that. They'd be like, ooh, we want to listen to that. But in a serious note, I mean, when it comes to the Packers, they're an organization that's like, we're going to draft the guys, we're going to be homegrown. Really, they've only paid out for defensive players. Very rarely have they gone out and made a trade or paid for an offensive player. It's just like, I'll ask you, are there any playoff teams besides the Seahawks, because those are the rumored ones that they've had the most serious talks. Yeah. Are there any other playoff teams that you feel like are going to be ballsy enough to actually be like, yeah, we need to make a move because without Julio, we ain't making it to the Super Bowl, or we can't even think about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think the first team you obviously have to throw out is the Raiders. I
Mm-hmm.
think the Raiders obviously tried to fill a wide receiver void with Antonio Brown, didn't
Yep.
work. They need to get this is Derek Carr's do it or leave it year basically.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't make the playoffs this year, he has to be gone. I think you've given him a weapon like Julio Jones along with a guy like Darren Waller, and then you have I think they brought in John Brown and Nelson
Mm-hmm.
Aguilar, and you have Henry Ruggs. You have a lot of solid people, and obviously Darren Waller is an elite talent. You just don't have that number one wide receiver, and that
Mm-hmm.
is something that Julio Jones would bring in. And I think the other team you look at is the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens are kind of in the same situation, obviously going receiver in the draft. They never have had, and one of the big things we've talked about Lamar in the past, and one of the things I've said is, yeah, his passing game isn't elite. I wouldn't say it's elite, but when
Mm-hmm.
you give him a number one receiver as Hollywood Brown, who is notorious for dropping passes
Who's
and
not a
isn't
number one? He is a
not.
number two at best.
Yeah, I was gonna say even a number two is a little bit shaky. I think they need a solidified number one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if the Ravens would get Julio Jones, they are going to be one of the best teams in the conference and probably separate themselves from the rest of that division, obviously
Mm-hmm.
health included. And then another team you look at in the division is the Cleveland Browns. Their wide receiver core is kind of a mess right now. Obviously, you have Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, but a lot they don't have guaranteed money. I think Odell Beckham only has 1 year of guaranteed money left, and
Mm-hmm.
Landry has none. So they have about 20 million over the cap. They could go and get a Julio Jones and maybe move an Odell Beckham with only 1 year of guaranteed money left, or they can move a Jarvis Landry and they could actually get kind of their bona fide star number one. Even though Odell is that, Odell is just doesn't have only has 1 year remaining guaranteed and has obviously
Mm-hmm.
injury issues that he's had in the past. So getting a guy like Julio to pair with obviously Chubb and Hunt and give Baker another weapon would never be a bad thing.
I have I have some interesting teams. These are ones that are not gonna because like I'm looking at the spot rack, um, them kind of obviously like if the Raiders, the Seahawks, there would have to be players involved because of
Yeah,
cat where like for example, the Seahawks cap space according to Spot Rack is at 4.7 million.
yeah,
So in order to get Julio, cap is going to have to get moved around. For the Las Vegas Raiders, they're also at 4.9. The only teams that have the cap space available to make Julio happen without even adding a player. Jaguars are number one at 38.6 mil. Broncos are number two at 34.3 mil. The Jets are at 30.7, and the Bengals are 24.3. So really, the top four teams are the ones that could make a deal. Like I look at it and I go, none of those teams, like the Broncos, they're going to be looking at Aaron Rodgers, a deal that'll probably never happen.
yeah,
And like
yeah.
even all the other ones, there was a part of me that goes, like for example, the Bengals, like their offensive line. I would not do this, but it's like,
I don't,
man, would a team like the Bengals be like, fuck it, we
he
are
doesn't.
gonna we're gonna try to add him with Jamar Chase, Joe Burrows, but like the timeline's not there. Same
Yeah, I
thing
would
with
say that's the point.
Jacksonville. You got Trevor Lawrence. Adding Julio Jones instantly makes it like you a better team, but neither of those teams, like Julio said when he was rightfully, wrongfully put on Skip and Shannon show, he said he wants to play for a winner. He's done
Yeah.
sitting there and losing. He wants a Super Bowl. And the one team that I like is the one that CM throws out in YouTube chat is basically the Chargers are at $20.3 million of cap space. That is very manageable. They are a team that I think should look and go, hey, I know Air Bear is only in his second year, but we're a team that we're probably not going to win the division, but we don't have to. We just got to make the playoffs. And Julio Jones gives Air Bear a number one target. You basically then have two number one targets because you got Keenan Allen, but then if Keenan Allen gets injured, you still have Julio Jones to rely on.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm willing to go all in like that with a second year quarterback like
Mm-hmm.
Herbert. Like Julio at best would elevate them to a playoff contender.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that team, even with Julio, is getting to like Super Bowl contention, and I don't think Julio would. Maybe Julio would want to go there just to play with somebody like Herbert, but I think he's been there, done that. I think if you're gonna look at a team on the West Coast, I think the Niners are obviously more attractive to him, and I think he's gonna have somewhat of a say.
17.4.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna have somewhat of a say of where he goes. I
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're going to give him like final word, but if it's down to something like any of the West Coast teams, I think Seattle, the Niners, those are
Arizona,
like, and
Arizona would be
Arizona's
very
another one.
interesting. Very interesting.
Arizona's a really interesting one. That would put all the pressure on Kyler then. And I'm a
Hmm.
huge Kyler defender. I love Kyler Murray. It just, is he going to be one, healthy, and two, consistent
Hmm.
enough in his passing game for them to become Super Bowl contenders? Because if you're making that move for Julio, you are trying to take that next step. And Julio,
Yeah.
Hopkins, and Green would be disgusting. And Fitz could even come back. We don't even know what's
Hmm.
happening with Larry Fitzgerald. So I'm interested to see with the Cardinals. I don't know if they get a deal done. I think again we're going to see one of these upper echelon Super Bowl contender teams make a move, and that, even though
Hmm.
people don't want to say it, it includes the Patriots, because it just includes the Patriots every year.
Yeah.
Because regardless who their quarterback is or whatever, I'm never going to write off a Bill Belichick team with whatever talent they have.
I'll ask you, in your mind, should the Patriots even make that move? Because for me, Nick Foles, or not Nick Foles, I'm looking at fucking YouTube chat. Um, Cam Newton will probably be the starter at the beginning of the year, but I'm not confident he ends the season as the starter. I think there is a high probability that Mac Jones ends the year as the Patriots starting quarterback. And like, if you're going to have a switcheroo at quarterback, hell, Mac Jones could win the starting job. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's going to be Cam Newton to start. He'll either get hurt or benched at some point in the season. Mac Jones will finish out the season. And is that something that Julio's going to want to have to deal with, even though you're going to a team where, I mean, look, you got Bill Belichick. He's one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the game right now. I say one of because there's the debate out there. Some people think, oh, Bill wouldn't have his rings without Tom Brady. But you can't take anything away from Bill. Like, is that a situation Julio would want to go to? I wouldn't personally. I'd want to go somewhere like the 49ers, like the Packers, like the Cardinals, like the Chargers. These teams that are like, okay, I have my quarterback solidified and I can make a charge with you into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think when we're talking about teams that are going to trade for him, I think caps are relevant. I
Hmm.
honestly do, because if
Yeah.
they want to make the deal happen, they'll happen. I
Hmm.
think if you're looking at division, there's an more attractive team, and it's the Buffalo Bills. I think
Yeah.
that team is, Julio would upgrade them to a Super
Yeah.
Bowl contender. I think they're like there, but I think the Chiefs are the clear
Hmm.
favorites in the AFC. If the Bills would get Julio, that would open up another door. And now would Julio want to go play there? That's a question mark. I know he said he wants to win, but I
Hmm.
really, a lot of this leans towards me that he wants to go to the West Coast and win.
Uh-huh.
So the San Francisco 49ers or the Seattle Seahawks would probably be the two teams I would narrow it down to. But if he
Hmm.
is want to go to the East Coast, the Ravens and the Bills are wild, like wild options because of how much he upgrades them and what he elevates the team to.
Yeah. And I mean, you brought up, and this is just crossing my mind, is could you imagine if the Chiefs were just like, fuck it, we're going to get Julio Jones?
Yeah,
Like, that
no.
would be game over. They're winning the AFC for sure. If Mahomes is healthy, I don't care about Tom Brady. They'll probably win that Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a Golden State Warriors
mhm.
type of team.
Yeah.
That's
But,
yeah. I mean, the Chiefs already made their upgrades this offseason. They're damn near already going to
mhm.
be unstoppable if they stay healthy. It's just if they would add Julio, that'd
but
be
like, also, like, a team that, like, I know the Vikings were on that list. Me personally, as a Vikings fan,
not a chance.
I don't know if I would even want Julio. And that might sound blasphemous, but it's like, I don't believe in Kirk anyways. So if I don't believe in Kirk, why would I give up assets to try to get Julio Jones?
Yeah,
The Titans to me are the other one that I think about where,
yeah,
yes, they're low on cap space, but like the one thing that AJ Brown's a good wide receiver. He's not a number one. Julio Jones would give you not just, you have the star power at running back, you have a capable quarterback, you have a coach that's committed to a culture. Now, the interesting thing is, their OC, Arthur Smith, is not there. He is now the head coach of Atlanta. Maybe that helps out the Titans a little bit. Hey, Arthur, we have a working relationship already. But let's be honest, Arthur Smith isn't the one making the deals. It's the GM, not the coach. But like, they're a team that I think of is a playoff team. Even with Julio, do they beat the Chiefs? Probably not. Like, the Chiefs are still probably the favorite, but like, I look at the Titans and I go, they should be doing their due diligence because that is one thing on the offensive side that they need is a weapon to catch the ball to help out Derrick Henry in this offense.
Yeah, I think the Titans are a very interesting proposition. I love the Titans. Again, it goes back to Ryan Tannehill and do I believe in Ryan Tannehill? The point you just made with Kirk Cousins, because I think they're about on the same wavelength and how much I believe in them to actually elevate a team and win a Super Bowl. But they would win games. So
Yeah.
I don't know like if this comes down to Julio saying I only want to go to a team that has, because then that even rules out the Niners. Like it's such a tough thing because if he wants to go to a team that has an elite quarterback, really what the Seahawks are the only. I mean, the Seahawks, the Ravens, and the Bills are really the only options. But if he just wants to go to a winner, then that opens up the boards for the Titans. That
Yeah.
probably opens it up for the Raiders. That opens it up for even Miami if he wants to go to Miami. Because, I mean, there's going to be so many teams that get rumored with this. And then it's probably going to circle back to the first couple teams we heard of the
Yeah.
Niners, Seahawks, and then I can't remember the other team. But it was all these West Coast teams that were rumored. And I feel like that's what it's all going to come back to eventually. Is it's just going to end up with him going to a West Coast team that's a contender.
Yeah, and I know that like the Saints are on the list, but like let's be honest, he's not getting
Never
traded in the
happening.
division.
It's never happening, but I would laugh my ass off if it happened.
I
We
mean,
have like $100,000 in cap. Well, I think cap's fake. I don't know with
Yeah.
how much maneuvering they did this offseason if they could maneuver that.
yeah, you guys, according to Spot Rack, have $693,400 in cap space.
Yeah. Well, we just added $1 million
Thousand.
today, actually. Thank you very much.
And like that's the same thing with like iGhost in chat says, "What about Nick Foles?" And like my response, I am prefacing this with it's gonna sound like a
Prefacing?
snotty it's gonna sound like a snotty remark, but I just go, yeah, what about Nick Foles? Like the Bears have a cap space of what 840,000, like $840,600 in cap space. And if I'm the Falcons, I don't want Nick Foles. Like I got I'm dealing with Matt Ryan. I do not want Nick Foles unless your idea is that they'd take Nick Foles, trade Matt Ryan. I don't think anyone wants Matt Ryan. That's the problem. So like I look at that and I go, well, what about Nick Foles? Because if I'm the Falcons, I don't really want that. Anything you think with Julio that we haven't touched? Anything about it? Like, are the Seahawks in the driver's seat and it's everyone else?
I don't know if the Seahawks are in the driving seat. I think it's going to be whatever team is willing to give up that second.
How valuable in your mind is a second round pick? I think
Not
it's
valuable at all.
If I'm a playoff team, throw it away. You don't need it.
I'm throwing a first round pick if I'm a Super Bowl contender like the Seahawks
Yeah.
or the Bills or the Ravens or whatever. I'm throwing a first round pick at them and because I just want to outbid everybody. You're trading for at worst a top 3 receiver in the NFL, if not the number 1 receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
And that is not something that comes along every day. It's the same thing that we were talking about with Aaron Rodgers. I was like, if Aaron Rodgers, or we're talking about it, if he becomes available, you offer whatever you want. It's the same thing with Julio.
Well, the thing I will say with the Seahawks, they do not have their first round pick this year because of the Jamal Adams trade.
Well, then you double on seconds. Something like that. They're too good, and the window's closing. Like I said with Russ, that you just try to get a deal done no matter what the cost is to get Julio in a Seahawks uniform and playing with Tyler Lockett, and that would be disgusting.
Yeah. The other thing let's kind of pivot over. So we talked about Julio Jones. The other thing we were going to talk about today has to be Aaron Rodgers. And
Hey, Raj.
you and I talked about this when the news broke on draft night. We hit it ahead of our draft special. If you go back on our YouTube page, you can watch it. It's a part of our 4-hour draft stream at the very beginning because it was during the pre-show. But there's a couple like, I don't even want to call them rumors, just speculations about the whole situation. The only for sure that we have right now is that the Packers have come out and said we are not trading Aaron Rodgers. That's the only like stand in the stone thing that we know. So basically, the what's the term I was gonna look for? Like everything else, it's like it seems like the Packers have said, okay, we're not trading Aaron. Everything is Aaron's court. What's Aaron gonna do? Is he gonna play? Is he gonna retire and force them to trade him? One of the things I was listening to today that I want to start off with was I was listening to Colin Cowherd talk about it. And he was kind of mentioning and kind of comparing the Aaron Rodgers situation to Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, which the one thing I will say that he overlooks is that the Seahawks were very close to trading Russell Wilson to the Chicago Bears. So apparently they were not on Russell's side. But like when Russ raised a stink, his big point was that the Seahawks did everything they could to try to make Russ happy. Whereas Aaron Rodgers, it kind of seems like the Packers are the exact opposite, where they are like, nope, this is how we're going to do it. We're not going to trade you. This is how we're running business. Like it or leave it, Aaron. It's on you. The one thing I will say that I think Cowherd left out that I would add in that's totally different about the two situations is because he was like, it's funny that like the Seahawks like went so hard to try to like not make him upset when they have a Hall of Fame coach and they have a stouted roster and they have this and that. And I go, yeah, but Russell Wilson has more leverage than Aaron Rodgers does. Because this is the thing I thought of. Tell me if I'm wrong, Jake. If I'm Russell Wilson, all right, I'll go play baseball.
I don't think about that. No.
Like, I'll go play for you know what I mean, though? Like, if it got that far to where he got that upset, Russ has that in his back pocket to where, like, fuck it, I'll go play baseball. Because he goes to spring training every year. Whereas, Aaron Rodgers, fuck it, I'll go do Jeopardy? Like...
I mean,
he'd be great at it.
He'd have more job security than Russ would playing baseball.
Pretty much. But, like, Russ has that option is what I'm saying, to still be an athlete if he wanted to. In your eyes, Aaron Rodgers, this season, is he going to stay a Packer, or will he stay a Packer his entire career?
Yeah, I don't really see a deal getting done this offseason. I think it's pretty... If it would have happened, it would have happened by now, is what I'm thinking. I think at this point, it's very hard for a team the Packers all of a sudden just kind of like warp around because their identity is Aaron Rodgers. And I genuinely don't understand, because I said this from the start. I think Aaron Rodgers had his people contact the Broncos off the record and told them to try to get a deal done so he could be a Bronco. And I don't understand it because the Broncos are a substantially worse team than the Packers. Now, maybe there still has to be something. I'm sure there will be a book or something written about this in 10 years or something like that. There must be something going on behind the scenes that they're like, he wants to be pampered to or something. I've been on the record. I'm just tired of hearing about Aaron Rodgers every single offseason wanting to get traded, being upset with management, being upset with the front office when they just lost in the NFC title game for the second straight year. Like, I get that you're upset, but you also need to realize how good of a team you're on. And one of the reasons they are so good is you. That is a completely valid point, which people bring up. But the team is so tailored around him, and the defense is improving, and people didn't like their first-round pick this year, but it was a giant need they needed in their secondary because outside of Jair Alexander, they were atrocious in the secondary and defensively against the passing game. So they addressed that, and people are mad they didn't take a wide receiver, but they didn't need to at that point because their wide receiver core, while it's not great, it's not bad. It's not terrible. It's not like, obviously Devontae Adams is great. MVS, I know we like to meme him. He's not that bad, honestly. Yeah. Like, I know that if Dave was on this show, he'd be going off behind MVS is so bad, but I disagree. Obviously, he drops balls every now and then, but really, realistically, what number 2 receiver in the NFL doesn't do that from time to time? And then, well, I can't think of his name. The tight end. Why can't I think of his name?
Oh, you're thinking of Big Bob Tonyan.
Yeah, Bob Tonyan. Had a great year last year, and he's back this year too. And hopefully their offensive line gets healthy. Obviously, losing one of your key offensive linemen right before the NFC Championship game in the playoffs for the rest of the season is damaging, and probably one of the reasons why they lost. And that kickoff, that field goal decision was dumb. Nobody's gonna say it wasn't, but it's not like I'm just sick of hearing Aaron Rodgers, like these rumors of him wanting out, but then him never giving a definitive answer out to the public. So I'm just tired of every single year hearing it over and over again.
Well, I mean. And here's the thing. The thing that, first off, your definitive answer part is, I feel like this past season, we got to see the most, like, we got to actually see and hear from Aaron Rodgers. Because Aaron Rodgers, although he did not talk to the media this way, he would go on the Pat McAfee show and just be himself. So like
Yeah.
if you at least saw those interviews with him and Pat, like Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if it's just because of the interviews that like I watched all season of him, but like he's a very likable guy to me. Like
Yeah.
I look at it and it's like he's a guy that is just seems like he's down to earth, but like he's one of those that he knows how the media works, and him trying to not give the media anything to talk about. He tries to do what Bill Belichick does, but by doing that, the media still has like the media takes it the wrong way in my eyes.
Yeah.
Where like, oh man, Aaron Rodgers, look at his demeanor. Like after the NFC Championship game, did you see him? Did you see his tone? He totally wants out of Green Bay. It's like, guys, he just lost an NFC Championship game. He's probably upset about that.
Yeah.
Who
I would tend to
wouldn't?
agree on. Yeah.
Who
I
wouldn't
was
be
gonna say.
upset? I think that Aaron Rodgers, to answer the question, is going to be a Packer this season. But this year is going to be the most important season Aaron Rodgers has ever had with the Packers. And the reason why I say that is this. If you look at his contract, after this year, he's got 2 more years, but he has a potential out. He has an out in his contract where the Packers can say, all right, we'll cut you. No harm done. But they take a $17.2 million cap hit, which would be what his cap hit would be if he was on the team. Actually, it's way less than that. If he was on the team, it'd be 39.8. Dead cap if they cut him, 17.2. That's all you got to do. You're done after that. Whereas he's there for 2 years if you don't. I have a feeling if this team, and yet again, this might be, some might look at this and go, Ricky, the Bucks are in this division, or I should say in this conference. It's going to be hard to do this, but unless the Packers make it to the Super Bowl, I think what's going to happen is Aaron Rodgers will play out this season. If they make it to the Super Bowl, all right, let's ride again. I'm in it for the next 2 years. If they don't make the Super Bowl, if the exact same thing, especially if the exact same thing happens this year, if he meets Tom Brady in the NFC Championship, they lose, and I'm talking about lose kind of like they did now, where people are saying, I'm on the side where there was a bullshit penalty that went the Bucks way. You have a Matt LaFleur mistake to where it's like, why are you doing that? I think what Aaron then does, and yet again, this then answers the question, will the Packers actually do it? I think Aaron Rodgers is done after this season if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, where after this year, the Packers will go, okay, we got Jordan Love. Yet again, it depends on what his development is. If they're like confident that he could start, because obviously they're not confident that he can start now. I think after this year, if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, both parties kind of go, hey, this ain't working. I'm not happy. By me not being happy, it's making life hard for you guys. Just let me go. Let me go. And let me kind of live my NFL career.
Sounds like such a sad breakup.
Like, it is, though. But, like, the question is, will the Packers, if they lose in the NFC Championship game, will their front office be like, okay, yeah, we'll let you go and just take a 17 million cap hit, or
Nope.
will he just get traded next offseason?
I say there is
do it.
no chance they're taking that cap hit. If he continues to this next offseason, which I'm sure they will, because honestly, I don't see the Packers winning a Super Bowl unless Aaron Rodgers has another MVP type season. And if he has another MVP type season, they're not just going to release him and take a 17 mil cap hit for him.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, how many first round picks are you willing to give us?
Yeah.
And then we'll take those first round picks. I think it depends how the season goes. Like you said, I'm not sure if it's like a gloom or bust type thing. Maybe I think it's tough to say. I think that it can be repaired still between the two. unless Aaron Rodgers is dead set has his mind on I don't want to play for this team anymore. But
Yeah.
he had that kind of like fuck you year last year where he was like, I'm gonna go off every single game and I'm gonna win the MVP or be the best player in the league, blah blah blah. And then we lose the NFC title game and I complain about the team. It just none of it makes sense to me. It's just I honestly have no wording for what I'm trying to say. It's just that Aaron Rodgers one is stuck this year. I think, as he said, he stays a Packer this year. I don't think any deal gets done. Jordan Love, if they believe in him, maybe there would have been a deal this offseason unless the value wasn't met, which what they thought they could get from the Broncos, whoever. I'm sure there was more than one team involved in these trades. They just didn't get leaked. I'm sure it just wasn't the Broncos.
Yeah.
I I just don't. One, I don't know if I'm a Jordan Love believer, and two, I don't know if their front office is either. I think a lot of this hit comes down to him. And if they lose in the NFC title game or losing the Super Bowl this upcoming season, if Jordan Love isn't what they think he can be or could have been back when they drafted him, then maybe they'll make Rodgers stay again. That's kind of what the whole question comes down to Love and how the organization views him.
Well, yeah, how they feel like he's developing. Is he ready to take over the mantle? Because it's so like, this is so Packers. So Green Bay Packers. They did it to Brett Favre. They're doing it to Aaron Rodgers. Where it's like, they drafted Aaron, took him 3 years. I think he sat for 3 years behind Brett. And Brett had the same thing. Trade me, no. Okay, eventually he's like, I want to go to the Vikings. They said, fuck you. We ain't sending you to the Vikings. We'll send you to the Jets. He whittled out 1 year with the Jets and then signed with the Vikings to have his best years. Oh man, if he was on that team instead of the Jets, we would have probably won a Super Bowl. But the thing with the Aaron Rodgers Packers is, if they make it to the NFC Championship game and lose, as an organization, as a front office, I would almost be sitting there thinking, something needs to change. Something needs to change, because like, if they make it to the NFC Championship game and lose this year, that would be 3 straight NFC Championship appearances and 3 straight losses, to where it's like, it's the saying that like never gets old. The insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting different results. Like, the Packers organization would have to sit there and go, well, either two things are going to have to change. Either we're going to have to change how we run things and actually go out there and get Aaron some help, or we're going to have to move on as a franchise. Because, like, that's the thing. It's, if they make it to an NFC Championship game this year, is the front office going to finally realize that, hey, we're not going to be able to get to a Super Bowl unless we get Aaron some help? I say no, because the front office will say, we got Jordan Love, we can do it with him. We don't need Aaron. We're going to use Aaron to get some weapons.
I think that's fair. Then the question comes in with who's going to take on the contract. Who's, obviously a lot of teams would be, but then you have to meet the value that the Packers are going to want. And the Packers aren't, I'd assume it's not going to be a Julio situation where they're like, yeah, we'll take a second round pick. We don't want to pay any of the money. It's going to be, we're trading you a top 3, top 2, maybe number 1 quarterback in the NFL to some people. And what you're going to meet our valuation, or we're just going to keep him. That's what it's going to come down to.
To me, when you say like, oh, who's going to want to do that? That question is not a hard question to answer. There will be suitors for Aaron Rodgers. And like you threw out the Broncos earlier on, I think they're right in the front because A, that's a John Elway move. John Elway doesn't look at all the quarterbacks he's drafted and tried to develop. Haven't panned out. I love Drew Lock, but he hasn't panned out to where people are already saying he's done, get rid of him. When I'm like, dude, he's a young quarterback. But basically they would be the team that I put at the front of the list, just because that's what John Elway does. Get me that quarterback, because like the thing with the Broncos is I feel like that is one of the pieces they are missing, because they're going to be a sneaky team, I think, this year with Chubb and Von Miller coming back healthy. That Vic Fangio defense is going to look vastly different than it did a year ago.
Yeah, I'd agree on the Broncos side. They're being an improved team, but I am one of those people who don't believe in Drew Lock. So the
Well,
team
I
will
mean, they
only
got
go
Teddy this year, but like, yeah, I would rather have Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, well, Teddy's only good when he plays under Sean Payton, though. I mean, we come on, we learned
Yeah.
that last year.
The quarterback
No,
whisperer.
yeah, thank you, exactly. Jameis MVP season. I think the Broncos are interesting when you look at Aaron Rodgers, but I think they're a worse team than the Packers. Maybe he has friends that work in the organization, or his friends who plays the organization. It has to be something along those lines, because maybe he spoke to Peyton and Peyton said something, because it's very weird that these old quarterbacks we're coming back around to the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's Elway, maybe it's something like that. I don't understand the attraction with them. Obviously, it worked out with Peyton. I just think it was a completely different team back then, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
Von Miller was a freak in that Super Bowl. And Aaron Rodgers is definitely a better quarterback than Peyton Manning was in those later years. So I think the Broncos are an interesting proposition. I think there's a lot of teams that could come up next year. Miami kind of has a big year for Tua. If Tua doesn't show progression, are they going to
That's
go and look out for a quarterback?
so. I was gonna say I have 3 teams. You just named one of them. So Broncos and Dolphins if Tua struggles, and then the third team would be the Steelers. If the Steelers
Yeah.
are officially moving on from Big Ben after this year, because plugging Aaron Rodgers into that Steelers team would be, again, totally Steelers, because Steelers don't rebuild. Dolphins would be another team where it's like, okay, if let's say Tua doesn't show progression this year, he's wrong. We need to get someone in here. We are a team that can make a progression. We're a good team. Aaron Rodgers would elevate that Dolphins team to a playoff team, if not more.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I love what they're building down in Miami, and I think I am a believer. So I don't want to talk it into obviously existence that he has a bad year, but I mean you always have to talk about the possibility. Eric says the Browns. I don't really see that because I think Baker's the quarterback
Yeah,
there.
no, they
I
love
don't.
Baker.
I think Baker's a very good quarterback too. I don't know if, and I also don't know where you send Baker then, because that just turns into a whole circle. What we're looking at is teams that have well below average quarterbacks or very young quarterbacks who want to accelerate their title window. I guess Miami's that, and I think Denver's that.
I
I'm
mean,
not
I
sure.
guess you could throw the Raiders in there if they're looking
I
to
mean,
move on from Derek Carr in some way.
if you want to throw, I mean, a little homer pick here, but if you want to throw the Saints into that window if Jameis doesn't work out, they're
I
obviously an
would.
option
I
because
would, but
teams.
cap, but like yet again, we talked about
They get
cap
more
being
next year.
imaginary.
They get
Okay.
yeah, but they have a lot more next year. It just depends how they restructure deals and everything. They have a big free agency coming up, so that's a whole nother issue. But if you're looking at teams that want to win now or want to win, obviously we're looking at a year in the future, have a
Yeah.
young core. Question at quarterback: the Saints are there, the Dolphins are there, the Raiders are obviously there, like you said, and
What about either the Giants or Washington?
Giants were going to be the next team I threw out. Yeah,
Okay, like
I think
those
that
are the
NFC
two
East.
others that I was
Yeah,
thinking about.
I was going to say the NFC East kind of the football team and the Giants could definitely look into it. I think the football team would be a perfect fit. I thought whenever
Yeah.
this news came out that was going to be the team that he was going to get linked to instead of Denver. I think that the football team have a glaring need at quarterback and really nowhere else.
Yeah.
And that defense literally is going to be one of the best in the league for the next 2 to 3 years, as long as they're while their guys are on rookie contracts. If you can bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, that becomes a Super Bowl team right away. And I know they won 7 games last year, but they were in the playoffs and they gave the Buccaneers the best fight they had all playoffs before they won the Super Bowl, obviously. So Aaron Heineke, I'm not sure he's the answer, obviously. We'll see. We'll see Ryan Fitzmagic down there this year, see how he performs. But I think that they're going to start being linked with every quarterback starting next offseason, whoever's going to be eligible to come up their team for Derek Carr if he becomes available, if Matt Ryan becomes available. They're all probably going to be linked with the football team. I think
Yeah.
they're a team that's very close to pushing their window open. It's just probably not this year, but it's close.
So I think you and I are on the same wavelength that Aaron Rodgers will be a Packer this year. He will be playing for the Packers, actually play. He will not sit out. He will not retire. And then basically, if they don't make a Super Bowl, which I don't think they will, that Aaron Rodgers will probably be traded next offseason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would agree.
Yeah. So any final thoughts you got on this? Anything that we did not add that
I'm
maybe you
interested-
want to rag on some other journalists and stuff? Do the Sean Anderson?
No, I don't have to rag on any other journalist. Sorry, I'm not going to go after Pippen.
Coward.
Pippen to A. What was it? What was the site?
Pippen ain't easy.
Pippen ain't easy.
Which
No.
I will say, I forgot whoever wrote that article. Kudos to them because they clapped back on Twitter. They listened and clapped back, which I love.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited because we're getting closer and closer to the NFL season. Obviously, we're still a little ways away, a couple months, but we'll be starting to pump out division previews and talking about the season and everything like that. And then we'll get back into the full force of the NFL. It's only training camp's only like what, a month or two away.
Yeah, pretty much. OTA starts soon.
Yeah, so we're inching closer. We're getting there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm excited though. I'm excited to see MVP Jameis come back in New Orleans.
Oh, you wish. But that is going to do it for us today. Thank you guys for being as great as you always are. Remember, join the greatest community in the universe. Join the MVP Discord if you're not in it already. Conversations happening each and every day on all the sports we love to talk about. That is down below in the description. Also in the description, you can check out our Patreon page, or you can become a channel member to get rewarded for supporting MVP. You can get stuff like content early. So if you're an NBA fan, I know we're talking about the NFL today, but if you like the NBA, we do the same for the NFL season. Prospect breakdowns, you get those a week early before anyone else. You can go ahead and support us. You can vote for Wet Boys at the silver tier. You can get in to the voice channels on Discord for $1 via Patreon, or you can be a Patreon or member sponsor like Pat Hill. Thank you to Pat Hill for his support. Also, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell to get now I forget. Notified is the real word.
There you go.
You want to get notified about videos that come up. I said it on Games Live. It reminds me when I said notified, in my mind I was like, who the hell do you think you are, George Bush? You think you're George Bush, Ricky? The evil doers out there. You don't want to be an evil doer. You want to get notified about things. I don't know why I had like a Trump little sprinkling in there. You're wrong. You don't get notified. You get notified. You're a big dum-dum. But yeah, we're always doing stuff here on the channel. So hit that sub button. Hit that bell to get notified about videos. That's going to do it for Jake and I. Tomorrow, I believe it's you and Soapy. I believe.
Let me look real quick. Hold on. I'm pretty sure we're talking NBA tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Thursday's you and I talking MLB.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir. It is.
Jake and Soapy will be here tomorrow talking NBA playoffs, really, because there's no draft segment until Friday. But that'll do it for us. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you guys for being as awesome as you guys always are. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
Bye, bitches.